Hello students and welcome back again. In today's class we will talk about sign conventions. Now let us first understand what do you mean by conventions. Conventions means some kind of assumption. These are some assumptions which we assume for ease of understanding. Now we will study the sign conventions in the case of spherical mirrors. So let's say that here we have a convex mirror, and as you can see I have marked the parts of the convex mirror. The first assumption that we make is this. Now I'm sure you must have all studied the graphs in mathematics class or in your previous classes. Now how do you make a graph? You have a x-axis and a y-axis. If I mark a point here towards the x-axis, that point will be a positive point. Suppose this value is 2. So the value will be in fact plus 2. Now let's say if I mark a point somewhere here on the y-axis and again I designate it as 3, then the value of this point will be plus 3. So any value that we mark on the x-axis towards the right will be a positive value. Now this point here is our origin, which we designate with the letter O. Now let's say I take a value minus 5 on the x-axis, then minus 5 will be here on the left hand side. This is how we mark any negative values. Now any value on the y-axis being negative will be marked here. Suppose if I have to show minus 3 on the y-axis, then it will be downwards from the origin O. So now do you understand how do we draw graphs? So let me tell you once again. If it's any positive value on the x-axis, it will be towards the right of the origin, whereas any negative value on the x-axis will be onto your left of the origin. Any positive value of the y will be above this origin, and any negative value on the y-axis will be below the origin like this. Similarly, we have the sign conventions in case of spherical mirrors also. In the case of spherical mirrors, this point pole is taken as the origin or the reference, and we measure all the points from the pole only. We always assume that our object will always be on the left side of the pole. Now, if this is our object, I mark it as O here, then the distance between the object and the mirror is the object distance, which we mark it by the letter U. So we are only taking an example right now. These are not the actual ray diagrams that we are drawing. Now let's say we form an image here. Let's say the image is formed on the right hand side as shown here. Now how is the image? Image is erect. So now if this is my image here on the right hand side of the pole, the distance between the mirror and the image will be the image distance, and we always mark the image distance with the letter V. Now, so do you understand what is object distance and what is image distance? The object distance is the distance between the position where the object is placed and the pole, whereas the image distance is the distance where the image is formed, the position of the image and the pole. Apart from that, let's say the arrow shows the position of the object. Now, we always assume that the object will be on the left hand side of the pole. Now, if this object is on the left hand side, what should be the object distance? The object distance will always be negative. Why so? Because the object is on the left of the pole. Whereas, let's say if the image is here on the right hand side and this is the image distance, then our image distance will be positive because the image is on the right hand side of the pole. Now, let's take another example. Suppose, now let's say if I mark my object like this, which is inverted, then what is going to be the object distance? Still the object distance is going to be negative because the object is on the left hand side of the pole. Now, if the image is formed on the left hand side only, then our V will also be negative. Let's take another example. Suppose if this is my object distance here, but my image is here, then what is my object distance in this case? The object distance will be negative, but the image distance will be positive because the image is on the right hand side of the pole, whereas the object is on the left hand side of the pole. Now this is about the image distance and the object distance. Let's also talk about the heights. Suppose this is the object here. Now let's say the height of the object is 2 centimeters. The height is going upwards from the pole like this. So what is going to be the height? It is going to be positive, because we learnt earlier that any height which is upwards from the origin will always be positive. Let's say the image is formed something like this. So what is going to be the height of the image? The height of the image is going to be negative. Let's say if the height of the image is 5 centimeter, then we will have to write minus 5 centimeter, because the height is towards the downward side from the pole. That's why it will be minus 5 centimeter. Now let's take another example. Suppose if I place the object here and the height of the object is 2 centimeter. Let's say the image is formed here and the image is smaller than the size of the object. The size of the image formed is 1 centimeter. Now let me know what is u. U is the object distance. Where is the object placed? The object is on the left hand side of this pole. So it is going to be negative. What about the image distance? The image is again on the left side of the pole. So it is again going to be negative. What about the height of the object? The height of the object we always designate with h, the letter h, and it will be plus 2 centimeter. Height of the image is designated as h dash, which will be plus 1 centimeter. Because the image is erect, it is upward. The height is going upward from the pole. That's why it will always be plus. Now, let me give you one more exercise. Let's say this is the object and this is the image. So, let's say my object height is 3 centimeter and the height of the image is also 3 centimeter. Now, what is going to be my object distance? It will be negative. What is going to be my image distance? It will be negative, because the image is again on the left hand side of the pole. What is going to be the height of the object? It is going to be plus 3 centimeter. What is going to be the height of the image? It is going to be minus 3 centimeter, because the height is going down from the pole P, because P here is the reference. Again, I would like to inform you that these are just the examples that we are considering. These are not the actual cases of the position of the image that we will get in case of a convex mirrors. This is only for the purpose of understanding that we are drawing these object and image distances. Now that we have seen various examples of object distance, image distance, how the height will be positive, where the height will be negative, after going through the examples which we have just discussed, it will be easy for you to also understand these points that are given in your textbooks. Look at the first point. The object is always placed on the left of the mirror. Yes, we did see that. Always we will assume the object is placed on the left side. Now, if the object is placed on the left side, which means that all the light rays are falling on any lens or any mirror from the left only. All distances parallel to the principal axis are measured from the pole of the mirror. Yes, because the pole of the mirror or the optical center of the lens is the reference, it is the origin. All the distances measured to the right of the origin are taken as positive, while those distances which are measured towards the left of the origin are taken as the negative. Distances measured perpendicular to and above the principal axis are taken as positive. Yes, we saw that. If the image is or the object is upright, then the height will be taken as positive. Whereas any distance which is measured perpendicular to and below the principal axis are taken as negative, which means if the object or the image is inverted in shape, then it will be taken, then the height of the image as well as the object will be taken as negative, because it is below the origin, it is below the pole. Now that you have learnt about the various sign conventions which are being used in case of spherical mirrors and lenses, it is very important for us to know the concept of magnification. Now, magnification relates to the ratio of image distance and the object distance, which means it is a ratio of image distance to that of the object distance. It can be written as V upon U, where V is the image distance and U is the object distance. So the ratio of the two will give us magnification. Magnification is also always designated by a small letter M. If we know the image distance and the object distance, we can divide them and get to know the magnification. However, if we do not know these distances and if we are only given the height of the image and the height of the object, this is another way to calculate the magnification. In this case, the magnification will become the height of the image to that of the height of the object. So just divide the height of the image with the height of the object, we will be getting the magnification. Now, this is the general formula of magnification, V upon U. In case of mirrors, we write this formula with a negative sign, minus V upon U. In case of lenses, it is simply V upon U. Now, why this negative sign? This I will be covering in a separate video session. However, as of now, please remember that there is a small difference between the magnification formula of a mirror as well as of lenses. In case of mirrors, the magnification is minus V upon U, whereas in case of lenses, it will be simply V upon U. This magnification formula will come very handy while you solve some of the numericals in this chapter. Apart from the magnification, we do have a mirror and a lens formula. The mirror formula is 1 upon f is equal to 1 upon v plus 1 upon u. This is the mirror formula. However, the lens formula is 1 upon f is equal to 1 upon v minus 1 upon u. The only difference is the minus sign here in case of lens formula. So this is the mirror and the lens formula, and this is the formula for magnification. Please make a note of all these formulae because they will be very useful while you solve the numericals. What I have drawn here, if you see this first diagram, this is a concave mirror. Now, this is generally how the ray diagram in case of concave mirror looks like. We have an object which is placed beyond C, and this is how we are getting the image. The image is generally inverted and the size of the image varies from small to large size. Let us get to know what will be the image distance, object distance, and the focal length in case of both concave as well as the convex mirrors. Let's first talk about the concave mirror. Here, because we have placed our object towards the left of the pole, that's why we'll always write our object distance to be negative. What about the image distance? Look at this. The image is again placed on the left hand side of the pole. So here also our image distance will be negative. What about the focus? Now, how do you make out what will be the sign of the focus? Which is that focus which is involved in image formation? The focus is this. The two rays are actually crossing the focus here. The two rays are actually passing through the focus here. So this focus is on the left side of the pole. That's why we will also write our focus to be negative. What about the convex mirror? Now look at the diagram number 2 here. Look at the second diagram here. This is a diagram of a convex mirror. Now here again, as I told you, we will always assume that our object is on the left hand side of any convex or concave mirror. So if it is on the left hand side, the u, which is the object distance, will have to be negative. What type of image is formed in case of a convex mirror? We will get a erect image, and the image is on the right hand side of the pole. So that's why our image distance will be positive. Now if you see very carefully, what is that focus which is involved in image formation? Is this focus on the left side or on the right hand side of the pole? This is the focus which is involved in image formation in case of convex mirrors. So this focus is on the right side of the pole. That's why we write our focus as positive. The object distance in both the case will be negative. However, the image distance will vary. Image distance in case of concave mirror will be negative, whereas in case of convex mirror will be positive. Look at the focal length. The focal length in case of concave mirror will be negative. However, in case of convex mirror, it will be positive. These signs are very important for you to understand. Let us now discuss the case of lens. First, what I have drawn here is a case of concave lens. Now look at the concave lens. How is the object? The object is on the left hand side of the optical center. So again, the object distance will be negative. The image is also formed on the left hand side of the optical center. So again, the distance will be negative. Which is that focus which is involved in the image formation process? The focus is on the left hand side because this focus which is on the left hand side is involved in the formation of the image. So again, it is negative. So in case of concave lens, all the three, the object distance, the image distance and the focal length is negative. Now let's have a look at the convex lens. In the case of convex lens, our object distance will be negative because the object is placed on the left hand side of the optical center. The image distance will be positive because the image is formed on the right hand side of the optical center. Look at the focus. Which is the focus which is involved in image formation? Is this focus on the left hand side anywhere involved? No. However, the focus which is on the right hand side is involved in the image formation process. That's why the focal length will be positive. In case of mirrors as well as the lens, it is very important for you to understand the various signs of all the three lens, the object, the image as well as the focal length. Do practice making all these diagrams and also get to know what are the various signs of the three lens. Now let's talk about refraction of light. We did discuss in the initial introduction of the chapter that light undergoes reflection, refraction and diffraction. So out of this, we will now take up refraction of light. Now if you take a tumbler, fill that tumbler with water and put a pencil in the tumbler, you will see that the pencil will look tilted. If you look from outside, it will look tilted to you as if it is broken from the middle. The same example, what you can do is, you can take a tumbler, fill that up with water and put a lemon inside the tumbler. What you will see is that the lemon will look a little more bulged out in the water. Now why do you see something like this? Is the pencil really broken? Is the pencil really bending itself? No. These are just the phenomena of light. It is because of the bending of the light when the light travels from one medium to another medium. Now you may ask me, what are the two mediums here in this case? The two mediums are air, which is somewhere outside the glass, and the second medium is the water, which is in the glass. So when the light ray travels from the first medium, that is air, to the second medium, that is water, it ends up bending. Let's also understand this bending and learn about it in detail. Before going through the phenomena of bending, in this chapter we will learn the laws of refraction of light. I told you the difference between reflection and the refraction. Reflection means the light will come from one medium and will be reflected back in the same medium. Whereas in case of refraction, the light travels in one medium and it enters in the second medium, which is what is refraction. Let's also learn about the various laws of refraction. The first law of refraction says that the incident ray, the refracted ray and the normal to the interface of the two transparent media at the point of incidence all lie in the same plane. What do we mean by this sentence? Look at this. Let's break the sentence down into parts. The incident ray, this blue line is the incident ray, which is incident on the interface of the two media. What do you mean by interface? Interface means the boundary of the two media, the boundary where both the mediums are in contact with each other. So which is the boundary here? This is the boundary of the interface, where the change of the medium takes place, that is the interface. The incident ray, the refracted ray and the normal. So the normal is this red line. Which is the refracted ray here? Refracted ray is this blue line again, which enters in the second media. So this incident ray, the normal as well as the refracted ray, they all lie at the same point of incidence. Which is the point of incidence? This is the point of incidence here. They all lie at the same point of incidence and on the same plane. This is the plane of reference where all these three rays lie. So that is the first law. This first law of refraction is almost similar to the law of reflection. Now, the second law is where we have the difference between reflection and refraction. The law of reflection said that I is equal to R, which means angle of reflection is equal to angle of refraction. Now, let's look at the law of refraction, the second law. The second law says that the ratio of sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is a constant. So I can write it like this. Sine of angle of incidence, sine, I can write SIN, sine of angle of incidence is I upon sine of angle of refraction is R is equal to nu. So nu here is the refractive index. So which is the angle of reflection here? The angle of reflection is this angle R here. The angle of incidence is this, where this incoming ray is incident on this interface. So if we divide sine of angle of incidence with sine of angle of reflection, we will always get a constant value. And this constant is called as refractive index. This will always be a constant as long as we have the same color of light and the same pair of media. What do I mean by same pair of media? Now in this case, let's say I have taken medium 1 as air and medium 2 as water. Now as long as the two mediums remain same and the color of the light is also same. Color of the light is, that means whether it is a red light or a yellow light, which means the wavelength or the frequency of the light should be same. So as long as the color of the light and the pair of the media are same, if we divide sine of I upon sine of R, we will be getting a constant number. Let's say the pair of the media remains the same, but if we change the color of the light, then also this refractive index may change. Suppose if we keep the color of the light same, but if we change the pair of the media, then also the refractive index will not be the same. So this refractive index will always be the same only if the color of the light and the pair of the media remain same. Let's also understand this refraction by taking an example. Suppose I have a pair of media. One medium is this medium of glass, which is shown by the yellow box, and the other medium is the air, which is outside the glass. Now let's say this is the incident ray, which is incident on this interface of the two media here. So ideally, if there is no other medium, this light ray would have gone straight without any bending. But now as the light comes here at the interface, the air is going to travel from the glass to the medium of air. And we know that glass is a denser medium, whereas air is a rarer medium. So suddenly the light realizes that it is not going to be traveling in the medium of glass anymore, but now the medium is going to change. The medium is changing from glass to air, which is denser to a rarer medium. So what will happen? As it encounters the medium of air, the light is going to be bending away from the normal. Now which is the normal? This red dotted line that I have shown here is the normal. So whenever the light enters from a denser medium to a rarer medium, the light always bends away from the normal. So you can understand or try to remember it like this. Whenever the light comes in a rarer medium, the light is free. So it will always go away from the normal. It will always bend away from the normal. Now, look at this. I have taken the same example, but I have reversed the direction of the light ray. Look at this diagram first. Now, in this case, the light is now traveling in the medium of the air. It strikes the interface of the two media. The medium is going to change from air to a medium of glass. So now the air is traveling from a rarer medium to a denser medium. Whenever any light ray travels from rarer medium to a denser medium, it will always bend towards the normal. How can you remember this? Now light is entering from rarer medium to a denser medium. In the denser medium, it is not free because its speed will be reduced. Because in a denser medium, the speed of the light will reduce. It is going to bend towards the normal. Look at this diagram. Now here is traveling from the medium of the glass to the medium of the air. So air is going to be bending away from the normal. So now in this case, we understand that whenever light ray travels from a rarer to denser medium, it is going to bend towards the normal. Whereas whenever the light ray is traveling from denser to rarer medium, it is going to be bending away from the normal. This bending of the light towards and away from the normal is mainly because of the change in the speed of the light. Whenever the light enters in a denser medium, the speed of the light is going to reduce. Whenever the light enters in a rarer medium, the speed of the light is going to increase. It is quite logical, as you are able to walk and run faster in air, which is a much rarer medium. But if you are inside water, you are not able to run as well as walk as fast as you would be able to do that in air. So the same logic applies in the case of light also.